Kulbir has just replaced his Facebook profile photo. It now shows his selfie that's way much cooler and more alive than his previous image of a sleeping ginger puppy. It has taken him several minutes to upload that selfie using his Nokia 5300 phone, subscribed to a day's worth of mobile internet connection. Every day, the 16-year-old high school student spends 5 rupees or about 3 pesos and 50 centavos for the internet subscription. It was enough for him to download MP3s or browse websites to customize his phone's theme. He even spent countless hours chatting with neighborhood buddies just to find out what's in. But with Facebook, it's not only about how much money Kulbir spends. It's also about how much time he has to go outside his community and even places he has never visited. He's so hooked to the site that he's using it to meet women his age from anywhere virtually. That's difficult to do off-screen for Kulbir, a Sikh who grew up in the slums of Hyderabad. Social constraints due to the difference in caste ranks, faith, economic status, and so on make it harder for young people like him to find opportunities. Dating, for example. So, for Kulbir, updating his Facebook profile is just one step in boosting his digital persona and externalizing his self-identity. Kulbir's story resonates with many people, not only in India, but around the world. Globally, social networking sites like Facebook have become a tool for communicating, gathering information, and building social capital. For Kulbir and many others in the global south, however, SNS are also seen as a path to overcoming the constraints of the everyday. That same path brings forward a discussion on using digital media as a form of leisure and how that can shape relationships between us, the digital media itself, and informal learning. In 2015, Associate Professor Dr. Nimmi Rangaswamy and anthropologist Payal Arora engaged with Kulbir and other youths living in the slums of Hyderabad and Chennai to understand how they articulated the wild and the everyday of mobile internet use in urban India. And this was all through Facebook. The researchers wanted to move away from the notion that mobile technologies are just employed for developing communication infrastructures, especially in the global south. Because urban dwellers also use these technologies for pleasure and leisure. Dr. Rangaswamy and Professor Arora have focused their previous studies on digital media and mobile internet use in the global south. In their 2015 ethnographic study, they zeroed in on several concepts. One is digital empowerment, or how the use of everyday information communication technologies bracket and hone user competencies, affording them a decision-making power to own, use, and allocate available socioeconomic resources, such as going to a restaurant or buying new clothes. Number 2, socio-cultural extensions of ICTs, specifically how Global South users reimagine, accept, modify, and operate ICTs based on socio-cultural contexts different from how the use of technologies is envisioned. Number 3, prosumption, or how users both play the roles of being an active consumer and a producer of content that is published or shared on ICTs. And number 4, the culture of aspiration, or how prosumers, especially those marginalized or disadvantaged, use participatory digital architectures to express aspirations to alter their conditions. Using a qualitative research design and inductive logic to structure data gathering methods in their study, the researchers interviewed 23 young people living in 3 slum areas and analyzed their social networking behaviors on Facebook over several months. From the spectrum of media research approaches, The study provides an interpretation and deconstructs the foundationalist perspective towards the use of mobile technologies, especially of urban dwellers whose backgrounds and social contexts may be completely different from the original intentions of those technologies. This study attempts to construct a newer narrative that mobile dwellers have engaging digital lives and their aspirations that are otherwise hindered by social contexts can become a reality through technology, thus critiquing or challenging notions of non-global South viewers towards technology use in the disadvantaged or marginalized sectors of society. The research uncovers how young participants from relatively lower social classes and marginalized sectors in India use Facebook as gateways to composing second selves, making friendships, and forging diasporic interactions. And at the same time, their use of Facebook stimulated new behaviors, making the platform crucial to their lives in acquiring agency over their representations. Kulbir likens building his profile to cultivating a garden, and he has tailor-fitted his virtual page by adding references to his faith and ethnicity. His profile also contains images related to the Sikh community and other content where he associated himself with the global Sikh diaspora. This can be seen by his audience, that includes friends in real life, strangers he added online, and even people beyond his own Sikh community. For the researchers, such behavior allows Kulbir to carry out multiple mini performances. Basically, he can express varied representations of his identity. And as a free and widely accessible platform, Facebook gives Kulbir and many other users in the Global South a low-stakes environment that allows users to socialize beyond their own offline circles. Other participants of the study reveal that they have pursued connections to users from many other parts of the world or from higher social classes in the hopes of fulfilling aspirations of social mobility. One unnamed participant, for example, has turned to the site where, in his words, one can talk freely without having any fear, allowing him to chat with girls, something that he could not do offline because of social structures or constraints. This makes Facebook, and digital media in general, not only a frivolous form of entertainment or romantic gateway that enables users to evade everyday life, but also a driving force in producing cultures of digital literacies or behaviors that develop user skills and knowledge of technological products based on how they use these artifacts in their own social contexts. The researchers tell us that there's tremendous potential for involvement in the habitual use of technology. The search for and the enjoyment of leisure-driven content, especially in social media, dominates the everyday, regardless of social contexts. And so, there is no sense in separating this aspect from the developmental purpose of ICTs. This study, being ethnographic in nature, expands the perspectives of ICTs and digital media use in the Global South. India provides a perfect example on how these technologies permeate and persist in the lives of people. Just recently, an Indian telecommunications company planned to roll out 100 million low-cost mobile phones. The Lokniti research program of the Center of the Study of Developing Societies in India has found that smartphone ownership is tied to the extensive use of social media platforms by young college-educated people from wealthy backgrounds. Although these platforms have also seen a significant increase of users from marginalized communities. The concepts in the study of Dr. Rangaswamy and Professor Arora give us a strong link between the ideas of ICTs for development and aspirations of people in the Global South. The researchers presented well-thought-out themes, but their message was drowned by academic jargon and pompous explanations. The conclusion also hardly links to the ideas of the previous sections. Regarding the research methods, participant observation and in-depth interviews are appropriate for this kind of study. These methods allow for gaining a deeper understanding of the participants and how their online practices affect their offline behaviors and aspirations. By selecting slum areas on the backside of 2 global cities in India, the researchers juxtaposed 2 realities that seem so wildly different from each other on the surface. They wanted to show that while social boundaries between these areas are tight and compact, young people in the slums of Chennai and Hyderabad have the privilege of living in the margins and can absorb posh cultures without even directly participating in them. The challenge for non-Indian audiences, however, is that the study hardly explains the social structures. This background could have guided the audience to find similarities and patterns in their own social contexts. The researchers identified 23 participants who engage in ICTs and digital media in various ways. The researchers claim that their findings are indicative of broader trends, despite having a small sample size. And also, all participants, except 2, are males. The study could have expressed deeper insights if the research participants included more women, LGBTQ members, seniors, and maybe people with disabilities. Kulbir's story has been thoroughly discussed and used as a standalone example. This study could have added more ideas if other participants were mentioned or featured. How would the study be if it used another research method, say time-bound semi-structured surveys and longer observations of more participants? What difference would including people from other social groups bring to the study? Might incorporating social contexts and realities from different areas be enough to make the study more definitive and indicative of broader trends? There might be more Kulbirs in India and other parts of the global south who can give us more insights through their expansive social media accounts.